Good evening. I would like to call the meeting of Tuesday, October 17th, to order. And this is a city council special meeting. First on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, great. Next, we have public comment, and we would like public comment to be obviously respectful and kind and under 3 minutes. And if it pertains to tonight's topic, we would ask that you wait till after the presentation. So is there anyone for public comments that's in the audience? Is there anyone on Zoom? If you would raise your hand, please. Okay. So we'll go right into our discussion item, which is the City Hall Police Station milestone approval.
Okay. We've been in schematic design for these two projects, being the police station and the city hall, for a bit of time. And we are at a point that we're close to going into design development. A lot of the details get filled in for the project. And we think that we're close tonight to where we need to be. We need to give us a design development move ahead. But we think probably one more meeting the city hall. And we're talking about May 1st. The last I'd heard.
November 1st.
November. May 1st?
November 6th.
Last.
So
May 1st.
it's the first,
Yeah,
November 6th
November 6th.
November
of this year.
Yes.
this year, yeah.
Okay.
I almost got it. It was going to be the first. Anyway, so it's November 6th. That's when we'll have the budget available. And also, we expect that you might want to make some decisions on elevations and things. And we can bring you whatever you decide to try to get it down to a final sort of image that we're trying to portray here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Leslie Jones, the architect.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, so as we have done in the past, I'm going to start with the police station sign and updates. A brief overview of what I expect to cover this evening. I have site updates based on what we looked at last time, the floor plan and building entry update. There's a small revision there to address some of the weather concerns that we heard. Schematic design direction, which are responses in the renderings to feedback from last time. I believe those are items that you've had a chance to view. From there, a budget update based on the drawing that, and finally for the police station, a milestone approval, discussion of milestone approval and next steps following that. So to get into that, site plan is primarily what's been reviewed in the past. A few updates here that have been made, starting at the Highway 101 intersection entry, that south drive aisle. This reflects work that has been ongoing by Red Plains with ODOT coordination. Where we think we will land here is 2 lanes of traffic going out of the site, 1 right-hand turn lane, 1 left-hand turn lane with a stop sign there, and 1 lane of traffic coming into the site that would accommodate people going both north and south on the highway.
I just jump in for a second, Leslie. That's a big development because at one time we thought there would have to be full intersection improvements. But ODOT did the study and said that we're able to do with a stop sign and some modifications to our own geometry. So that expense will not
Stop sign where?
Get back on the highway.
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay.
What about going out the other one, the other side though?
The other side, we are leaving. And so that it can only be used by the police department. And no one else. So that, yes, I'm sure there will be a stop sign there, but it's not a public access.
So we don't have to do any photo.
No.
And it's one lane of traffic each direction? On Highway 101 there.
Yes, it's 101 as you know it.
Okay.
And we have that in writing. From ODOT.
We will.
Okay.
Because they eventually they say this is what you have to do.
Okay.
But all the conversations have been favorable.
Will there be any signage coming from, if someone was making a left turn into so they were coming from the north, a sign that says left turn ahead or something like that to warn people that there might be a full stop ahead by someone trying to turn in?
I don't think any more than there might be a sign that says police department, coming in. But there's no, I'm not aware of signs like the one that you're talking about elsewhere on 101. It's,
Yeah, it's just, it's true. There isn't anything like that in Seaside because the traffic there is, you expect to have people stop all the time. I just was concerned about, and there is a center turn lane on 101 up through Seaside and Gearhart.
Right.
Here, there isn't a center turn lane, right?
right.
So I just wondered about people stopping to turn left, coming from the north and stopping to turn left on 101. They may have to come to a complete stop. And I just wondered if there was anything to warn them that all the traffic coming at 60 miles an hour behind them, that there may be someone coming to a complete stop up ahead.
I'm not familiar with all the details of the geometry that they've recommended. There may be something like that, but we can talk to them.
Especially if you have to go past two lanes, that lane is turning left, turning right, another lane is turning left, and another person's coming in left. That could be a little bit confusing. If you see this lane turning left and you've got this lane coming in.
Mhm.
I'm a little nervous about that.
Well,
So
Is the
oh, I'm sorry.
police only north entrance to 101? Is that will that be the emergency
only an
entrance?
exit. Only an exit.
And will it be the emergency exit from the site onto 101?
For police.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
So
so they don't have to go out.
the North
Together.
Drive aisle, ODOT has informed us they'll likely require us to close. That's not, we could appeal that decision.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. So the access to and from ingress and egress would be at the southern driveway. In coordination with ODOT, the northern driveway would require a separate permit process, and we were told in preliminary discussions that they would likely not approve maintaining that.
So you're saying that the police won't be able to go in or out on the north side there?
It's not
Oh,
permitted.
they're going to use the same exits as the public would.
Yes, so what we're showing in this site plan, there is an existing gravel drive down that hill, and it runs around the west side of the property. That would remain in place, and that would be an emergency second egress from the secure parking in case for any reason that primary access got blocked. So there would be two ways to get out of the secured parking, but both would utilize that southern driveway.
Okay, but if there's, sirens going and people are trying to the public's trying to get in the same lane that the police are trying to get out, wouldn't that be a little difficult to do?
So ideally, keeping that northern drive aisle was our request initially from ODOT, and initial response, and was that they would not allow that.
We're still talking to them about it.
So we have not yet submitted for the ODOT permit, and we have some decisions about how hard we would like to push for that.
I just don't anticipate that many people
That's what I'm
actually
thinking.
being.
No, but I do have that concern about going from north, turning left and then having the two lanes here too.
I understand that, but I mean, police vehicle leaving with sirens and light. People are gonna get out.
I think they're experienced with that kind of thing.
I would like to know if there's the possibility of putting, you know how sometimes when you're driving on 26, there's a sign that says truck turnaround ahead or truck entering roadway ahead. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Going southbound past the police station, because you have to come to a full stop if there's traffic coming from the south and you're making a left turn. And then anybody coming behind you, and people go incredibly fast on that highway. It's insane. I think that a sign similar to those ones like, trucks entering highway, police station ahead, you better stop.
But that's something that can run by ODOT.
Yeah.
Because it's their highway and it's ultimately their right of way, their decision, the traffic engineers make those calls.
I think you make an excellent point, and signage would definitely be helpful there. I think as we move through the permitting process with ODOT, that's something we'll keep on our radar.
Giving people notice
Mhm.
so that if something were to happen, you.
Even a yellow light,
Ability.
as far as a yellow light there would be nice too, kind of a flashing yellow or something, because I know it's expensive, but it's a dangerous turn.
It is.
Okay, we were gonna listen to the presentation first, remember?
That's true.
Beyond the intersection, I already pointed out, you can see on this, that second exit from the secured parking, which is existing gravel, that we would propose to leave gravel as is, again, emergency only. A few other slight modifications is we've coordinated with emergency management, some on which of the cache structures will remain and which will be relocated or potentially removed as they develop the cache site. That allowed us to square up the parking lot a little bit. And so right now we're showing a total of 23 parking stalls in that secure area, which would be for police only. And that includes 3 oversized parking spaces for some of the larger vehicles. On the south side of the building, we've maintained the public parking spaces. We have 5 pull-in spaces and supplemental parallel parking. What we're continuing to explore is some large vehicle turnarounds and how best to accommodate that. So the RVs that might come onto the site, making sure that there's a way to get them turned around. Any further questions on the site or revisions to the site?
There was previously a large vehicle turnaround that's in the area that the supplemental parallel parking is from?
That's the area that we're targeting in our investigation because of the topography looks the most favorable to be able to make a flat surface big enough. So that's continues to be the area we're looking at.
And that supplemental parallel parking is if we have more than 4 cars from the public there's more space.
Yes. And that once we get the large vehicle turnaround may adjust.
And all staff would park in the secure parking.
Correct. At the building entry here on the site plan, I'll get into this when we look at the floor plan. Modified this entry corner just a little bit to protect that door. There. So that's, I believe the only revision to this since last is that slight change in the vestibule. Kind of there. Comments or questions on the floor plan?
And the floor plan is gone through the police department and
Yeah, but this is something, CETA's really listened to us, and this is kind of a copper penny that's been turned into a piece of wire because we've gone over it so much. And I think everybody's kind of happy. I mean, Joe and Val are in the back of the room. There's about 45 years of experience here right now, and we've kind of seen every contingency in those years from both police and administrative side. And this really seems to meet those needs and everything we've experienced in that time. Yeah, so we're very happy with it.
good.
And on to what the building will look like here and design alterations based on comments last time. So we have two options here to review. Option one, this one, have that offset. There was some preference for that. That'll be option two. This option joins those in a ridge at the front facade. It features cedar shake at the building entry, cedar horizontal siding at the squad room, and an additional cedar siding signage band at the facade facing the highway. One option here that we're looking at and can discuss more when we talk budget is the dark material that wraps the back side of the building. That we have some options for. It will be mostly behind the screening of the secure parking area. So one option is to look at a more cost-effective material. Is in the budget now for that is a cedar product, but we have the cost implication should we choose to do something different. Option two here. Is that offset roof at the entry. It is based on an identical floor plan, so that is consistent. Cedar shake at the entry, cedar horizontal siding at the squad room, and that the same option of material on the back side of the building.
What is the material on the exterior of what would be the emergency operations?
On the emergency operations, that would be the same material as on the back side of the building.
Some type of vertical or horizontal cedar.
On that back side of the building in the secure lot, we have been thinking about the durability of that material that may take potentially, there's going to be more activity back there, more people coming and going, possibly. So we've looked at potentially some painted options. And if we go towards painting for maintenance and durability, then we could look at some other siding products.
At what point do you think we might have elevations for the east and north portions of the building?
We could have those pretty quickly. So let's see. The east elevation, there is a single door there and no windows. That's really the back side of the building. So if we look at our site plan, it will also be primarily behind that secure fence and behind the trash enclosure.
Okay,
So not a lot going on there.
got it. You envision the siding that's shown just wraps around that same siding?
Yes. So I could actually show you on the site plan here. This line. So up there in red is where we're talking about the material where we may have opportunity to save some money.
Yeah.
And that would wrap all the way around.
Okay.
And so for the police station, those are the materials I have. If there's comment or questions, happy to address those.
Is the audience going to speak? Ask. Still.
And so then the budget piece is next.
What, paid for this?
That's fun.
I will stop sharing. And
Okay, so this is our true SD estimate for this project. I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through it in detail just because this is the first time that we've seen it in this format. This format is what we call CSI format. Where you see the spec section down the sides. These are our CSI divisions of work. These are the same across every construction project. 3,000 is always concrete, 4,000 is always masonry. And so I'll get into the details of what's in each one of these, and then we'll go to the bottom here. The first is our general requirements. These have not changed. These are our monthly general conditions for 12 years for superintendent, project manager, job site trailer, temp fencing, temp toilets, temp trailer, all those types of things. So this is just a monthly cost. Our concrete here is all the structural concrete. So this is the building. This is a little more than what you might see. What we have included in the structural concrete is the helical piers to support the foundation. That's also included in this concrete number. We did receive some geotech information middle of last week that starts to define what the requirements are going to be for the foundation support. 12-inch helical piers essentially driven to 60 feet. Some of them into 30-degree batter to lock into the soils. And then they're tied in with what we call a pile cap. So that captures the top of the helical pier. And then the entire foundation is tied together with a grade beam, which had been our assumption all along. But really, we're starting to get some clarity on the soil support. The one thing that was not in the geotech report, so we made a best case, worst case assumption on the number of helical piers. We're currently at 75. I think that is your absolute worst case scenario. It could come down from there, but right now it just gave us the minimum that they needed to be spaced together, but not the maximum. So we're currently at 75 helical piers. You'll see that there's no masonry in this division, even though there is some masonry on the project. Those will typically get captured in the exterior improvements, and I'll get to those here in a second. We're starting to develop the structural piece of this. We're not anticipating a lot of column steel beams. It's all going to be typically wood framed. So there's going to be some mixed metals and some steel, but not much. In division 6, which is wood, plastics and composites, this is the entire framing of the walls, roof, the entire structure. And then also included in this number is what we call interior and exterior finishes. So if you have a wood ceiling somewhere, window sills that are wood, those type wood base. If you have exposed wood ceiling in the entryway, that's where we've captured these costs here. Please stop me if you have any questions as I'm going. Division 7, this is all your exterior cladding, your weather barrier, your roofing, your insulation. Those are all included in Division 7, pretty much everything that dries the building in and makes it warm. Division 8 are openings. These are our 22 interior doors, 4 exterior doors, the folding partition at the EOC. That's what's included there. Division 9 are finishes. This is everything that makes it pretty, drywall, paint, tile. This specialties, Division 10, fire extinguishers, restroom accessories, those types of things are in Division 10. Division 11 is your equipment. Sneak peek, sorry. I gotta see what we had in Division 11. Sometimes this one fluctuates. So Division 11 is all of our appliances. And then we also have some miscellaneous equipment if we have some special equipment in the armory or some other places. So that's what's in there.
So you can actually drill down and see what's in each of these categories.
I can, yes. And I'd be happy to share.
Just entertain us with one of them,
Yeah, absolutely.
on equipment.
Equipment. Yep. Let me see. I gotta make me share my screen. Let's. I have to stop sharing, Rusty.
It's just a link, isn't it?
I have the Excel
Oh.
spreadsheet up, but it's not sharing that screen.
Yeah, see if you're gonna want to stop and then reshare that.
Oh, you don't have to.
That's fine.
It looks like Jennifer has her hand up too.
I just wanted to clarify one item. And that is, Jordan, when you said it was the first division there that had your, all your on-site manpower piece. And there was a little wording that was a little unusual. I don't think it came across quite how you intended. That's that's extrapolated out for all the months you're on the site. So it's not per month that fee, it's that for the whole.
Correct. Yeah, the entire.
Oh,
Yeah,
I got
I think,
Walking up.
No, and I
Yeah,
was
I think-
thinking, wow.
yeah,
Well,
I think you skipped a word and
Okay,
it changed
sorry.
the whole meaning. So, okay, good.
This is the equipment. But actually, I'd like to use the next one as an example, if that's all right, Barb.
I'd be entertained here.
Okay, absolutely.
Look, okay, I just want to make sure you had like the washer and dryer and.
Yeah, and again, so then, right, these are all quantifiable here. We've seen those on the plans. We have a little bit more MISC equipment. I think you'll see this next example as another good one. So these are the furnishings. This 100, when I go back to the summary sheet, this 140,000 you'll see in the summary. Quantified all the base cabinets, upper cabinets, the benches. These are your 17 lockers. We have a pass-through locker at the evidence, some mail cubbies or some filing cubbies, full height cabinets and booking, and then the workbench. So we're able to quantify all of that and put a unit cost to each one of those that feed into our summary. Typically, and I'll just be honest, when we're in this early phase, sometimes you'll see, in the majority of the time, you'll see all the built-in casework that actually will get rolled into Division 6, which is carpentry. But right now, they can really live in either place.
Where do computers and things go?
Computers live with Rusty,
So that's the owner's contingency.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
the owner's piece.
Okay.
And we'll get to that piece.
Okay, thanks.
So is there any, do you want to look at any other details on anything else? Or we can jump to these anytime you want if you have any.
No, I just was I was curious.
Sure, absolutely.
Other people.
yeah, no, I'm glad you asked.
I'll go back to this summary sheet. So if we go back to furnishings here, you can see that that's that 140 that we were talking about. So the next handful of items, half a dozen items, don't have that quantified takeoff behind them. They're purely square foot based on cost per square foot for the fire suppression, the plumbing, the HVAC, the electrical, Division 27 and 28, which is communications, electronic safety and security. We don't have that narrative and we don't have that design developed yet. So this is just a historical cost per square foot that we're using. Earthwork is starting to get pulled together as we get the geotech report and we start getting elevations figured out. This earthwork number is purely just earthwork moving material to off the site, excavation, prepping for structural pads. Really just the earth moving piece of this. I feel like I'm conservative here, but it's the one that we have kind of the least amount of certainty on right now. Exterior improvements, Division 32 is all the other stuff out on the site. So included in exterior improvements are all your sidewalks, your paving, your curbs, your landscaping, your security fencing. Probably missing a couple things, but those are typically what you'll see in exterior improvements, the hard stuff that goes into the site. Utilities also is a best guess at the moment as we're developing the utilities. I know there's a couple decisions we need to make on some things, and as we start to get the site survey developed, we'll figure out what those utilities look like. But this is to cover all the utility work: sanitary, storm, water, gas, electrical.
And that's bringing the service over across the highway.
Correct. Yep. We don't have any building demolition or temp facilities for this project. The temp facilities for PD will be handled and covered currently under budget for the City Hall projects and currently reside. We are carrying still this number here, 654 equates to 13% of the total cost of construction. So everything above the line here. So we're carrying 13% in design and escalation contingency. This is just to cover things as they get developed. We may run into something on the site just to cover the design and the blow.
Is that a standard for amount percentage?
So this breakout is I'm carrying 3% in escalation. I did actually reduce that down a little bit from 5% because we're kind of moving through the process. The design contingency is standard for us at 10%. And then typically what we'll see is when we get through the design development phase, we'll knock off 5% because really anything that's kind of grown or changed in that development has been captured. And so that contingency can come off. And then we keep another 5% to get us from DD to CD. And so at the end, really all of that contingency either goes back into the project or has been absorbed into the work.
Jordan, DD and CC or CD?
Design development, which is the middle phase, which is the next phase. And then contract documents, which are putting together the bid package, the final construction documents.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Bruce.
Mhm.
So the 6.385 is our current estimated cost. Those contingencies included. Below the line, we have our soft costs. So our liability insurance, the bonds. Also carrying another 5% for construction contingency. This is not to be touched until we actually get to construction. This is standard for us, assuming that an owner doesn't have another bucket of money to deal with things that come up during construction. So we hold 5%. Totally your dollars to spend with your approval, but we keep it there just to get through any unknowns throughout construction. We have our corporate activity tag. Our current cost of construction is to take over $7 million, 7.1. But the number that we have been presenting during initial council meetings also included our soft costs. So there's a pre-construction fee, there's design costs, and then the design costs from CETA, phase 2 design costs, and then this is where you're asking about computers is also in this $2 million. So furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. I think Leslie put it really well one time. Furnitures, fixtures, and equipment are anything that if you flip the building upside down, it would fall down. I've used that a couple times. It fits. So if it's bolted on, attached to the walls, own it. But if it flips out, then it's furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. permit fees, SDC fees, those are all calculated in these soft costs currently. So that does bring our total to 9.4, and I'll jump back to that here in a second. A couple things that were brought up during the design phase, and one thing that kind of grew that was not anticipated in our initial design was the covered parking. Originally, we had 0 covered parking, and then there was one iteration where we had a 500 feet of covered parking that really just kind of connected the back of the building to the parking lot. Latest iteration has almost 3,000 square feet of, and it's not all covered parking. It's really just that covered area in the back that covers some parking, but it's almost 3,000 square feet. That's significant. This estimate for covered parking that we put as an alternate structure, the roofing, we're anticipating lighting. We're actually anticipating some level of radiant heat under there because the dog kennels are there. It's not developed yet enough to give a detailed cost to, but we did want to show that we're carrying an add alternate for covered parking. This is not included in the 9.4. It would be something that when we put the documents out, or as we progress through the design, we start to realize that there is that money to insert that covered parking, we would put it back in. But right now, it's not currently part of the design.
An add alternate?
Yeah, and this is primed for an add alternate. It's separate structurally from the building. It's clean, it's quantifiable. So you put it on your bid documents, you show it, you design it. And then we get the bids in, and our bidders also bid this. So when we get all the bids in, we can look at where everything is and decide whether we want to take or reject that add alternate cost. And again, it may get to a point in the design where we get through DD and we haven't used hardly any of the contingency, and that covered parking can come back in without being an add alternate. But for right now, that's the way we've designated it. We did also look at, currently our roofing is conventional 3-tab composite roofing. We did look at an option of standing seam metal roofing. This would be another potential add alternate. And that's the $250,000. I'm still waiting for some pricing from some of my subs. So this is Jordan pricing, not sub pricing, but I think I'm pretty close. And then, as Leslie described, we were looking at maybe doing some fiber cement site alternate around what I'm calling back of house, and that would be about a 30,000 deduct. And we're still working through that too. It's a rough order of magnitude, but our total siding package was about 177,000, and so I'm just kind of playing with some unit cost numbers there. Any questions on all of that before I go back to the 9.4 number? A lot. I mean, it's a lot to take in, but 9.4 number is fine.
Why do you need covered parking?
Can I answer that, Nancy?
Sure.
As far as vehicle maintenance go, the things that take our vehicles out of service where we don't get the longevity out of them here in our marine environment, the time we spend out on the beach, the car sitting out in the rain is corrosion. I think we did have covered parking, extend the life of some of our patrol vehicles even longer. Then that kind of everyday working thing when you come out in the morning and you're not cleaning frost and leaves and everything off your vehicle. But corrosion is the response. I think we'd really extend the life of our vehicles.
Would it be enclosed or just covered?
Just covered parking.
So like a carport?
Just a
type
car,
thing.
just to keep the rain and the dew and everything off of it.
Green there and yellow is what we calculate is covered parking.
And the kennel has to be covered too.
True.
Covered.
So would that whole covered area be what you would propose to have radiant heat?
It's unknown at this point. I know we definitely have some level of heat figured in this area around the kennel. I don't know that we figured too much heat, over the parking spaces, but definitely this area here would have radiant heat. Any other questions on the actual summary sheet or any details within?
What kind of heating are you thinking about for the whole building?
We're just starting that conversation. There's forced air, there's so many different options, and that's really the next step that we need to get engaged. Yeah. We have a conservative estimate to cover the heating. I mean, there's probably nothing that we're gonna get thrown, that's gonna get thrown our way, that's gonna make our heads spin on the heating, yeah. So the 9.4 number, it's higher than the number that we've figured in the $25 million total budget. It's higher by about $190,000. I am not concerned about this. We had this conversation internally. It's about right what I would expect to be at right now. I could have easily lowered our contingency by that amount to make it balance. The reason I didn't is I'm concerned of the unknown of the site right now. So I'd like to hold a little bit more on the site just until we get that part figured out. And that's really, but we're well within the range of where we should be at this point for schematic design. I will point out also from our preliminary design to this design, we had grown about 355 square feet, but I do feel that this design is as efficient as we can be. So there has been a little bit of square footage increase.
I also wanted just to clarify on the soft costs, some of the things that are included in that. We talked about the engineering, architectural, professional design fees are in there. The furniture, fixtures, and equipment is their permitting fees, SDC fees, jurisdictional fees. Those are also in there, as well as a separate contingency that's not yet been discussed. So there is also a 5% owner contingency within that soft cost budget.
What was the first item? You said furniture, fixtures, and equipment. What was right before that?
Professional services fee, so engineers, the architects.
Excellent.
The other thing is we have testing, like the owner required testing, geotech survey, all that stuff is in there too, and that soft cost piece.
I think as far as budget goes, we're tracking great, but we won't have any more clarity on what budget looks like until we get to the next phase, the DD. That's really the next step for us.
It sure is great to see it all laid out like this.
Yeah, but yes.
Thrilled to see that.
So in terms of next steps, some things that we would be looking at next as we get kicked off into design development would be preparing the design review package for the police station. It would be submitting and pursuing the zone change that is needed for this, as well as continuing to develop the design details. So right now, our mechanical electrical engineer is working on a narrative to supplement this and further refine it. We would start working on things like wall assemblies, how the building goes together, more structural system information. Those would be our next steps.
Or are we ready to go on to public comment? Are you guys?
We want to, we have to the council, we have multiple options in terms of elevations. You want to, talk about those? Talk about them more than what we did?
I
Is
think
there anything you want to see?
I think we will. I think we decided last night that we'd like to hear public comment, if I'm not mistaken.
After, based on what we heard at Coffee with Counselors, some people felt like they needed to wait a long time to give public comment. And so my plan was to have the presentation, which I'm not sure if that's finished yet, and then have public comment and then have the council discuss.
Great. I'm fine with that.
But are we at a place where you guys are, I mean, except for answering questions, is your
Yes.
Finished. Yes, yeah, okay, so now we will entertain public comment. Again, remembering kind and respectful public comment. Les?
Les Sinclair, PO Box 1394, Cannon Beach. My comment is really just around the entrance to the proposed location. And I just wanted to kind of remind everybody that it's actually exactly like South Hemlock enters onto 101 about 200 yards further south. And so what ODOT did there is they created a center lane. And I think if they did that for us, that a lot of your concerns about entrance and egress would probably be.
Oh, yeah,
managed, right?
absolutely.
But do we know if that's what ODOT is planning,
I don't believe that they are requiring that.
requiring? Okay,
And that is based on a traffic impact analysis that was recently completed by Red Plains. So looking at the level of anticipated traffic here informed ODOT's initial recommendations.
anyone else that's in the audience? No, Jen?
Oh, Jan Siebert Werman, PO Box 778. I first wanted to just say, I'm hoping that we are going to have the forest corridor like we mentioned. I didn't hear anything about it, but it looks like it's very green next to the highway, so I'm hopeful. So let's please keep that idea going. The other thing is, let's see, for the option one, these designs so far, that would still be my hope that we would do that. I also ran this by my husband, and he does agree with that option one without the split roof, if we can. Also, cedar, at least for most of the places that we can see. And no, please, no cement. As I said before, that is not an environmentally friendly substance as far as I'm understanding it, hearing it from different people. And I think they know more than I do about it, but I would like this building to be as environmentally friendly as we can make it. So if we have a choice there, let's stick with no cement. And let's see, about the radiant heat idea, I would ask that instead of the heating the outside seems very strange to me and very not environmentally friendly at all. The opposite, it seems to me. I care about dogs, so could we think about if it's cold that we put the dogs somehow have an option to put them inside rather than heating the outside? That just seems very want to take care of the dogs. Alternative way of dealing with dogs, keeping them healthy and warm and not heating. Let's see. I think that's probably it. I didn't quite understand about the square footage increase, but maybe you could, if you understand it, then fine. I didn't quite understand that. But that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comments? Raise your hand if you would like to talk.
Yeah, Mary Beth's hands up.
Okay, Mary Beth?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I agree with Jan that the option one with the not split roof is probably better. And I'm going to echo her sentiment on making the building as environmentally friendly as possible. by not using the asphalt shingles, let's use something that is not a petroleum product. And that's about what I have to say. I do agree that the pups should maybe be in an enclosed area where they're not going to be exposed to the elements. Whether it's hot or cold, it could be windy, it could be rainy. It would be nice if they were in an enclosed area. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak that's online? Anybody else in the audience?
Mary Beth, did you mean to put your hand back up or are you done speaking?
I was trying to put it down.
Yes.
Can I ask Leslie to talk about where the additional 335 square feet, where that is in the building and why? We made the choice to
How
continue
many is it?
135.
335?
square feet, yes. So that adds to the cost, but it was like the trade-off, taking it out was functionality. So if you can talk about that.
Sure, and the square footage of this has fluctuated as we go through various stages of design. So the 335 square feet just captures a snapshot of where the plan was when that initial pricing was done several months ago and where we are now. In that interim, we actually, as we developed plans based on some needs, we're up to about 5,500 square feet. So it was a bigger increase. We then looked back at finding efficiencies there and were able to reduce back down to where we are now. So some places that have ebbed and flowed, we wanted to make sure we had sufficient space for evidence storage and evidence processing, and that system worked. We wanted to make sure that we had sufficient entries for staff. At one point, we looked at eliminating one of those 2 staff entries, and that was not the preferred option. One thing I will say here is this most recent vestibule changed, pushing that vestibule out a little bit. We will be looking at recapturing that space so that we're committed to staying at the square footage as reflected in this.
And that's 5,328.
Yes, so that's with the enlarged vestibule. We've already been brainstorming back at the office what minor adjustments to make to recapture that. I believe it's less than 100 square feet.
Other questions from counselors?
Oh, yeah, I have a question on assumptions and clarifications in Exhibit 2, where number 3, pre-construction services, what, I'm not sure what that means.
Yes, and so I'll speak to this. This is our document. That is a little deceiving. They are being carried in a separate contract. So that's really the only contract we have with Cambridge right now is for the pre-construction. But they are being shown on that total, that 22,000.
Oh, they are.
So it's
Okay,
yeah, it's not part of construction costs, but it is part of the overall budget.
okay, that's what I was worried about. Okay. And Bruce, do you know approximately what builder's risk insurance would run? That's being provided by the owner, so that's us.
I don't know what
So it fluctuates based on risk category. So there's a higher risk category here. I'm actually in the process of getting a builder's risk quote. Even builder's risk is sometimes covered by the owner, sometimes covered by the contractor. In our contract, it does clearly say that it's by the owner, so we haven't included it. But there are a lot of instances where they'll have us go get a quote because sometimes we can purchase it cheaper and then
Okay.
provide it. So I'm actively getting a quote for the builder's risk.
On that same document that Lisa referenced, number 13 about the building retaining wall. We anticipate a lot of that going on this site.
I don't know, based on the current survey and geotech report, maybe a corner of the parking that may have some of that. We just don't know right now. In our detailed estimate, we did. But we don't quite know yet. I mean, are you anticipating many retaining walls?
We've designed the site to actively try to avoid them. And in discussion with Don Rondema last week, who was out there looking at all of that, it didn't sound like he anticipated much and had some ideas about some of the soil we need to relocate, how we could relocate it to avoid retaining walls. I don't know for certain that there will be zero.
Right. And that was one of the reasons that we did the parking lot flip 90 degrees as well, because that starts.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Side out. There's two different types of retaining walls as well. There's like structural load bearing retaining walls that are supporting load. And then you'll get into like more keystone landscape type retaining walls. We're talking about the structural load bearing retaining walls that we're concerned about.
And that's what I would be concerned about because of the higher cost. Okay, thank you.
'22 and '23 are related to unsuitable soils. Is there some concern about this on the site?
Not currently, no, but there's always a concern that you may run into unsuitable soils and have to replace it with structural fill.
Okay.
You'd be surprised, be amazed at what we've uncovered on specific sites. So it's just saying that we're not anticipating or figuring a cost for any of that.
Wouldn't be something toxic. It would just be unsuitable for building.
Yeah, tires in the ground, organics, cars we've come across. I mean, you come across all sorts of stuff. No dinosaur bones yet, but you'd be surprised. And then to answer your question about number 23, this would be contaminated soils. There's nothing that's indicated that there's any contaminated soils here. So we're just covering that, but we're not expecting any of that.
I like option one myself, just to chip in on that.
Why do you like it?
Why? I just like it. I mean, it's a visceral reaction. I just like it. I just think it just looks more pleasing to me. The split roof is very modern. And I may have got that last time, but when I look at this whole thing, I really like the option one.
Yeah, I like option one as well.
This one here. Oh, yours are done in opposite of mine.
No, I
Okay.
think I just have the page turned.
Oh, okay, you do. Yeah, the one with this roof.
And on the left.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think the split roof gains us anything.
Yeah, I still worry about leakage. That's what people say.
So Nancy, did you say you like option one? Gary?
Yes.
One.
Yeah.
One,
I'm more than fine with it.
number one.
Yeah.
You like number two?
I like them both.
Okay, which you like better?
I'm not going to make a choice.
Okay, but you're fine with,
I am, absolutely.
okay. What about you, Chris?
I think I speak for people.
I know.
Say we're happy with either one.
Okay,
Look what they have now.
I know.
Yeah.
They have option zero now.
Zero, zero. Okay,
I guess then the question is, council willing to say that we are clear to go on to design development for the police station?
DD,
Well, we'll probably bring this to you at a voting meeting, which would be the 6th. But, we would like to get a jump on it if we can.
I do have one question, and that's for both the police department and the city hall. Are they subject to the 1% of in art requirement by the state?
The 1% in art, that's,
Yeah, we pay, I think it's 1% of your budget goes to art, public art.
that's one I'm not familiar with. I know we're subject to the 1.5% technology. But I'm not familiar with.
Okay, I may be wrong on that, but it seems
Police station would be subject to,
it's a public building.
yeah, but
So I'm not, I may be wrong on that. I think at one time, public buildings were required to pay, have public art, and I think it was called 1% for art. So I don't
Okay.
want to check.
I'll look at that.
I
Certainly.
think Jen is checking with Ashley on that one.
Yeah.
I'm okay to move forward with this.
1, 2.
Yes.
now this is a special meeting, so who wanted to take a vote, could we? Or,
Was it advertised as special?
yeah. It was. On the agenda, it's a special.
No, we can-
Um,
All of our meetings are special.
That's been said many times.
Yes.
Um, I think that it might be better that if we wait and you approve both of them to go into DD at the same time. I think that we wanted to get a feel for it and take a look at where we're headed. But I don't want to rush you in any way. But you've given us what we were looking for and that you're comfortable with the schematic design. The elevation number 1 and the floor plan. And so that gives us a base to move forward. And we can then vote on both on November 6th.
As long as it's not creating a delay in what they're.
That was my answer.
Yeah, no, they'll keep working.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't think so. So I was just curious, so for the city hall, we didn't get that budget. Are we going to?
You will prior to the 6th.
Prior to the 6th.
That's why we're not ready to ask.
Okay, all right,
I forget it. City Hall.
okay.
Questions. And it's really. I asked Jordan to talk about this. It's really kind of working out for us that the police station might be a little bit ahead of the city hall. And you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this was always kind of our hope and goal was to break these apart at some point, and you're starting to see that divergence right now. If we could get moved, PD is the smaller project footprint wise. If we can get moving up there and start staggering the trades, because we're going to have the same trades at each site. So peers are sites and all of that. So if we can start PD first and then move those subs here, concrete follows, framing follows, and so we can just flow our stuff. Trying to man both projects at the same time. They'll be drywallers at both sites at the same time. But if we could start that break, start that trades, it makes it attractive to the subs without a break, and we end up getting better pricing that way.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any one that would like to make public comment before we move on to the city hall about the police station?
Do you mind if I say one thing?
Yeah.
I was just looking up the 1% question, and we can dive in deeper, but it looks to be for state-owned buildings.
For state only? Okay, good.
That's my first understanding of it. And we'll make sure that we turn over the rocks, but I think that's probably why we haven't seen other jurisdictions have to do it.
Okay.
Looks to be a state-owned requirement.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, on to City Hall.
On to City Hall. And to reiterate a little bit, one of the reasons we opted to hold on the pricing for this project until next time is some of the feedback we got last time. Bigger cost implications, I think, and some decisions to make as we move forward. So our hope for this evening is to get feedback on those so that we can have a ready for the price for presentation on the 6th. So a few of those things to discuss this evening, the site and strategy. We talked about this last time and we have a couple options to show you. Specific to accessible parking and its location in comparison to the building. The floor plan overview here, we have reference, but well on it has not changed. And then design options and discussion. So where we looked at some options last, we have some response to that and are asking for some feedback there. So to start our site discussion, what we're looking at here on the screen is the site based on the most recent survey we have. For comparison purposes, you can see the existing building footprint and the total parking spaces here currently offered on site are 16. Much of that is because the back property on the east side is not, it's gravel and not striped, and so not official parking. Moving on to the next option, or the first option here. This has the building located in the same place as it did last time. So this plan is similar to what we looked at last time. It provides a total of 26 on-site parking spaces, including the 2 accessible spaces in that back lot. But to supplement that, we are proposing the city provide 2 additional accessible parking spaces across Gower. That brings them a little closer and more direct in line with the building entry, instead of having them sort of in the South Plaza. A couple things to point out here. In all of these options, there's an existing retaining wall at the east property, back along this south property line. Are proposing keeping that retaining wall in place and keeping all of the trees and plantings that currently exist there as a buffer to the residents behind. Where we're showing these 5 parking spaces along the south, there are 4 existing parking spaces there that are currently dedicated to police vehicles and the police shed. So we're proposing parking in that location. It will still require screening to separate it from the residential lots, but that will all be new plantings as this area is not currently planted. So this plan, our goal here really was on this back lot to provide as much parking as we could, given that I know parking isn't. Option 2 here, this one is a little different. It provides less. This one shifts the building approximately 20 feet to the east. So it provides this one on top 22 spaces as opposed to 26 spaces. You can see at the southern parking here, there's 5 to 3. So that's the building shift. What we were able to do here is maintain the existing drive aisle at the front of the building and provide an accessible parking space on the property itself at the building entry side. And so this means that you wouldn't need necessarily to park accessible parking across Gower. I will say this parking, because it is providing 22 spaces rather than 26 spaces. The threshold for requiring 2 accessible parking spaces is 25. So whereas the previous plan showed 2 on-site accessible spaces and 2 off-site accessible spaces, this one really is only showing that one that would be required by code.
But then we could put another
You could still put it
on the other side.
across Gower, you could still supplement to 1 or 2 additional. There is an offset down here in the corner, an alternate to this plan. And that is, again, shifting the building, so the building location on these 2 is the same. But providing 2 accessible spaces in front of the building. In order to do that, this option here would require a property line adjustment and have a loss of parking of a few spots in the lower lot. So it would be adjusting the grade and using fill to bring that up and provide those 2 spaces near the building entry.
And you would build a new retaining wall?
Yes. This would require, so the property line adjustment and a new retaining wall, because again, to hold the ground, make it accessible and level at this higher level in place of those lower parking spaces.
And roughly how much does a retaining wall cost?
$45 to $50 an exposed square foot. So I could do some quick math real quick.
I don't think it's that high out there.
It's
I'm
3-4 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that, the one that we're discussing and asking questions about right now, one is relatively recent. And what we still have to investigate is that what we're talking about is having spaces down lower. That's actually a street. And so that may impact our ability to change that property line.
Okay.
But we're investigating.
So that's what you mean by property line adjustment, is that it would involve the street?
And right now, our property line goes to the point in front of the pink or the red.
Okay.
We need to acquire that property.
Okay.
It's part of Evergreen.
Okay.
Potentially big.
The green, what is it, Evergreen?
Yeah.
That's a street.
Yeah.
You say you didn't own that?
We do own it.
You just have to extend the property,
This property
another
line.
survey and extend the,
Take it from Evergreen.
okay, you said something about acquire.
I'm sorry, to acquire it for part of this site. I was not very clear. Sorry.
From the street into those parking spaces there, or how would you access those parking?
access those the same way as now. So there's the existing driveway there would remain. That would be how you access this. And then it would be one way, similar to the way it is now to exit. So you would access from that parking, the driveway, those spots in the.
Leslie, I'm sorry, I missed something at the very beginning of the presentation about there was a first site plan.
This one?
That's just as it exists, correct?
This is as it exists.
Then there was another.
Then there is
This one, this is
this one.
with the 5 parking spaces. By the police station.
Yeah, that's included in our packet. I'm sorry, I missed about the existing one. That's all.
And I included there is a reference for the parking available now and the parking we're proposing. One item I'd note on the parking demand here is that the police vehicles, of course, will not be using the lot as they are now,
They'll not be white.
using this lot. So the demand.
Have to have a place for them to come to the city council meeting.
Have to kind of jump back to police. What did you anticipate doing with the information officers in the summer?
You know, there's been quite a bit of discussion about that. That, you know, we just transport them downtown during the summertime, then kind of bring them back up.
Okay, so you just definitely use the police department.
I think that's where they'd be, but it'd be nice too, since City Hall is central, that we could have a space here for them to come in and use the facilities, get water, maybe make their lunch, have a break, store their bicycles. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's definitely a concern.
Mhm.
Okay.
I can move on with the presentation or we can pause to discuss the site.
Move on, I think.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Please, thank you.
Building floor plan and footprint, none of this has changed, either of those site iterations. I did look at the staff count. We do have in this plan included 27 workstations. That is for an existing staff count, I believe, of 21, with growth for 6, and that's scattered through the various departments. So there are extra workstations until some growth happens, and there's so some flexibility here built into the plan.
I think all the growth is included in workstations except for one office that will be built kind of in the middle of the building.
So the design options are next. We have 3 of them. Show you. Option 1 here is similar to we looked at last time. This simplifies window openings. It also swaps the materiality, which was a suggestion from last time. So along Gower Street, the shape along Gower remains unchanged, but we changed the materials so that on the proud portions, those 2 bump outs, that's cedar shake, and on the more recessed portions, that's the cedar horizontal siding. For each of these options, we have a few views that I'll move through fairly quickly, and then we can go back and look more carefully. So this is still option 1. This shows the implications for the interior of the council chamber, and then that behind the council on the wall that faces south. This also is option 1, what the building would look like from the parking lot side. That's shown on top, and then the roof plan, how that roof drainage would work. So you can see along Gower, the several gables that would be overbuilds, and the mechanical well with room along one side of the mechanical well to provide natural light to the interior of the building. two. So option two is the single slope roof at the council chamber. Another change here in this option is simplified the tower elevation a little bit. So what you'll notice here is while we still have the two proud bump out areas, that there's no small to provide a middle ground between having that streetscape, but also wanting to keep the building simple. And similar to last time, these options could be mixed. So if this Gower Street facade is appealing, it can be paired with a different solution at the council chamber. One item to note about this option two with that roof at the council chamber is that it has an impact on the roof and how those come together at the back side of the building. So what we're proposing in this option is instead of a central mechanical well, we're proposing a larger surface of flat roof, so single membrane roof. Again, this would be on the back side, so not visible from any of the street views. But we would then build a parapet to screen that. And it would require a different solution for getting natural light into the building. So something more like skylights. You can see that the flat portion here on the back side of the building, that would be a parapet wall with a flat roof behind it, or a mostly flat, I should say. It would be sloped enough to drain. And still option two, this is showing that south facing facade on the council chamber and the interior of the council chamber. So the interior of the council chamber, our plan here is to expose the structure. And so from inside, you would be able to see that it's a single slope rather than having a ridge. Option three. So option three here, the simpler elevation along Gower. Again, that can go either way. It is similar to option one in the shape of the council chamber. But what's different here is that we pulled away the canopy and created it as a separate piece so that it can the building corner and provide additional weather protection on the west side. The roof form here and the elevation from the parking is very similar to option one. Again, the primary difference here on option three is the canopy treatment, specifically at the entry. We left the canopy for the staff entry, similar extension. And the view inside the council chamber of option three and on the back south side of the council chamber. And those are the three options for this evening. I can go back to any one or address questions.
Did you say that for option three, you could do option three, but put the Gower Street gables back in like you had in option one?
Absolutely. Yes.
So Lisa, you mean take the top part of three and put the bottom part of one?
Yeah,
Okay.
because, yeah, I love the Gower Street. I like the facade on Gower the best. So, but I like the roof line in this thing for option three.
Okay.
And I don't like the back of option two. I just don't like option two. That's my.
Yeah, I don't like
On option three, where you have the extended awning, I'll call it. I forgot what you like to call it, the entryway.
I think
Yeah.
canopy, but
You think if we were to go with the option to put some parking out in front of there, that would in any way impede that?
if we go back to the site. If we look at this one, say, the implication here is that this pathway would be potentially covered if we wrap the canopy. So these two circles here, these are columns. So the entry cover would cover a significant portion potentially of the plaza area on the Gower side.
You think from a practicality standpoint that we'd have to maybe redesign the driveway portion of that just a little bit? Or it would work just fine having that covered part come across the front of the building?
I spaced it so that I think that would work to have
Okay.
that covered part come across there. The only the covered area is not shown very high. And like I said, it's a pretty big lighting on the underside of it. It is still a fairly low, large.
Okay.
No, I mean.
Are there any concerns or preferences with the roof lines and the drainage? In regards to cost or?
That is a good question. Option one, from my standpoint, has the most cost. My understanding structurally, Leslie, we're doing a straight shed roof and then overframing all of those gables.
Yes, so the difference is two small gables. They're overbuilt, and that's specific to the Gower Street elevation.
And the challenge with that one is the gables or?
It's not a challenge, just, I mean, it does create more slopes, so more area that water is going to funnel to. The framing itself is aesthetic. Those smaller gables in between the larger gables, you're building a faux gable over already built structure that isn't gaining you anything inside the actual building itself. So.
And as far as the mechanical well to the other options?
Can you go to option? I think everyone said they don't like option two. Can you go to option two? This one from a roof standpoint, in my opinion, is the cleanest. The large flat roof, and then the architectural gables on the front. That roof is not going to be seen. It's going to be hidden by a parapet. It's back a house. If you look at the other few options, there's actually that really aren't serving any volume inside the structure.
The two gables, Leslie, do that manifest inside in the floor plan?
No,
Okay, so, all right.
How about maintenance on that flat roof? Is that a problem?
Flat roofs are typically not a problem as long as you maintain them. What you have to worry about here is debris, things clogging up your drains, your overflow drains. You have a primary and a secondary drain, multiple of them in pairs. If those get clogged up and your roof's not draining, it can absolutely cause a problem.
So before we ask more questions, are you finished with what you want to share? Okay, so
Yes.
let's move to public comment and then we can ask more questions. So is there anyone that would like to make public comment regarding the city hall schematic designs? Yeah.
And Seaver Ormond again. I was wondering, I guess I didn't see the 20-foot shift. Was that on was that in the packet or the changes that we got today? Because I didn't see that. Is that just tonight that we are just?
Was that included? Was in the,
It was?
yes. I mean, I believe so.
Okay, so I didn't see it.
Option 2.
You saw it?
You're talking about option 2?
No, sorry, I'm talking about the new.
Leslie can clarify that.
It's.
Oh, for
Oh,
in the
oh,
proposed
City Hall
option.
and option 2.
Yeah, that was in.
That was there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. So, I guess I have some questions about that, so I'm sorry, I'm not ready to say anything about that option. With that parking idea, but what I did want to say was, all in all, at this point, my husband and myself would both prefer the option 3. Not the option 1 Gables that Lisa loves, sorry. Anyway, I think it's cheaper. And I also think it's just aligns for me personally as is more aesthetically pleasing. The one to looks a bit busy. And but you know, we all have our ideas. Also, I'm glad about the west side weather protection. And I think you took out those tall windows. That's what you did. So thank you very much for that. And about the flat roof option. So I'm a little confused. I know the flat roof option is in the second one. Is it in the third one also?
There's a variation, the third, it's still a mechanical well in the third one, correct?
The third roof plan is the same as the first roof plan, except for the extra gables and the entry canopy.
Okay,
But
okay.
the south side and the mechanical well are the same.
Okay, so as far as flat roofs here, I'm, of course, you know, I'm not a builder, but I've always heard that don't put a flat roof on your house here. But I do not know if that would be a problem here, but I thought it was because of all the water that we get. Because when we have a storm, we sometimes get a lot of water at once. Been getting as much water, but we still could get a big storm. And it could all come down at once. So I'm a little concerned about a flat roof, but Brandon, you're a builder, so I don't know. Do you know anything about flat roofs? Here, I'm talking about. Have you ever heard or experienced anything difficult with a flat roof here?
Well, they can be, but my experience has been that in residential settings, they may not be built as well. I'm assuming here, but I would think a commercial roof should be the standards that you're talking about.
Option 2 is the shed roof. So they really only flat roof would be the covered awning. Is that what we're talking about?
no, in the back of the building,
In
the
the
back of the building.
The back of option 2.
Mhm.
So, okay, so it's a little more complicated than I was thinking it would be. Sorry, that was my mistake. And so I guess just basically the Gower would be what my husband and I would prefer, but that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thanks,
Jen.
Yeah.
possible thing, go to one of the Gower Street facades. Either one of them, it doesn't make a difference. If the recessed portions of the Gower Street facades could be stained darker, they would recess farther visually. That would, sections that are forward would give more of a residential feel. Just an idea, and the darkness of the stain we'd have to mess with. It could be really dark, it could be just minorly different. That's just something to play with. As far as the roof, I think the question that Jan had about flat roofs is technology now is so much better than when we used to make flat roofs around here, which is tar. So the new materials are just so much better.
So you don't see a danger in a flat roof?
A little differently, but that last roof, option 3 roof plan, hard to see these roof plans. Did you ever consider going from the ridge line right back on the long sloping thing? That would be one idea, just cover the whole thing with one long slope. Another comment I would say, different topic, the interior of the chamber hall, I would seriously consider not putting in permanent fixtures. So you have the room, you feel what the room feels like, and you start sensing where the best place to put things is. Rather than planning ahead where the ramp and the dais and all that stuff is. I would wait and use the room to feel it before you build anything permanent into it. That's just one comment.
Sam, did you have a reaction to Gower Street elevation and the several gables as opposed to the 2 gables?
Thanks.
Thank you. Les?
Couple of comments, less than Claire, 94. So my wife and I both felt really strongly about the benefit of having option 3 as far as the covered on out going into the council chamber. And I like the Gower Street facade on option 1. I like that look. I just add the box, the X, and you'll have to make that. So I think the pleasing. The other thing I just kind of wanted to speculate on is, you know, as far as the layout on the site itself, I don't think that it's a good idea to lose parking spaces down in the lower part. I mean, I just can't get there personally. But I kind of was attracted to the option where we shifted everything 20 feet back and got like easy access into the front of the building. And I guess one, you know, that was just a new idea for me. And I wanted to ask the question, we talked briefly last time about moving parking on Gower from the north side to the south side. And I know there was, Jan, I think you had concerns about the trees, and I get that. I just was curious if that had been vetted and eliminated. It just felt to me like it was such an obvious win as far as getting parking closer to the front of the building. I just wanted to see if why that wasn't one of the options that we talked about. So that's it.
Well, that's just so I understand. You like the option of moving it back 20 feet?
I think so. But it's, you know, because
So it's a loss of parking.
there is a loss of parking, I get it, but
It sounded like the loss of parking was a concern, but
ADA parking spot up in front, and then you preserve drive through pass through that. Frankly, I see get a lot of use currently for different reasons.
But that, you lose parking spots in that
Right,
area.
in the back. I get it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a new idea and I haven't really new to everybody, I guess. So it might not be acceptable, but I like the idea that the front is a little bit more accessible than what the other options.
Is there anyone online that would like to make public comment?
Yeah, Deb has her hand up.
Deb?
Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm just gonna comment about the flat roof because my neighbor here has one. And it's constantly got debris and all standing water on it. And when I look at it, I think, oh, I wouldn't want a flat roof. So I don't know, especially with depending on how many trees are around the flat roof and who's gonna maintain it. It may not be an issue, but that's something to consider. And with the disabled parking, well, there won't be a curb to get into the building, right? They'll be able, if they're in a wheelchair, there'll be a straight access for wheelchair to get in without going over a curb.
It would have to.
Okay, that's all I have. I think everything looks great.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Any further comments from the audience? Jen?
Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention was about the bump outs, I think you called them, Leslie, to have the cedar on those, which is, I guess, in option 1. So, but they would be hopefully on option 3. Does that make sense?
Yes, so the preference is cedar on the proud portions closest to the street.
Okay, last chance for public comment. Okay. Carry on, council.
Well, I still like option 3 with the option 1 Gower facade with the gables, even though I understand that they're just aesthetic. But to me, they're very aesthetic. I also love Sam's idea of making the receded ones, the not proud ones, a slight bit darker. I think that's a great idea. And the recess, thank you. And yeah, and then and I like the idea of the one parking space, ADA parking space, and then having the other one across the street. The idea of moving the parking to the south side instead of the north side of Gower Street, we're only talking a matter of how many feet, 10 feet? That seems like an expense to me to change the whole configuration of the street just to save a walk of a few feet. I don't see that, but as long as we have
Can you repeat that?
I don't see I don't see what's to be gained by switching all of the parking along Gower Street from the north side of the street to the south side, because it would be very expensive to do that. And I just don't see that it's worth it for the few feet you would gain. As long as you have an ADA parking space that is really accessible to the building.
Got it.
And the one parking space and the other one across the street. It seems to me, and I think there's one, is there one in back too? I don't remember.
There is now,
Yeah.
but I don't know that.
But anyway,
There is one now striped.
well, we have an aging population too, so wouldn't hurt to have all those.
So Lisa, can you say your choice again? You'd like number 3?
Number 3, but the facade on Gower Street on
1.
one. I like the gables. That's the difference between the two of them.
Right. Okay.
It's just, I just like those gables. They look very warm and neighborhood-like to me. Very Mr. Rogers. So. And I will say, I don't like the flat roof at all. I think it's a bad idea. And they end up looking yucky.
Where would you?
Well, in the back of the building.
No way to see it.
I just don't think practically it makes.
I believe that they do need a flat roof for mechanical.
Yeah,
All three options are gonna have some level of
Right.
flat roof and mechanical.
yeah, there's nothing you can do about that if you need it. But if you don't need it, I would say don't do it.
But it sounds like they need it.
Need it for just part of it, but all the options had a different amount of. There was one option that had a lot more flat roof than the other. That I did, I think it was 2, as a matter of fact. I just don't like 2 at all. I just don't like it, the way it looks or feels or anything, so. That's just me.
Okay, I'll weigh in. I think probably option 3 as my first choice. I do like the west side covered awning. I actually prefer the simpler facades, the fewer peaks. Agree totally with the recessed areas being darker. I think you kind of gave us, based on feedback last time, you gave us all natural wood as opposed to, but I think this is kind of boring without it. It needs that definition.
You could still be natural wood, just being darker.
Yeah, no, that's. And I don't know, site plan 1 is really my preference. I guess I just hate to give up the plaza and the parking. But if we had to go with the parking in front, I mean, adding the whole driveway in front does eat up a lot of space. That is where we lose the parking and it's where we lose the plaza. But I would definitely prefer the 1 space if we go that route. That's mine.
So say that last part again, you like the 1 handicap spot in the back,
If we're going to move it,
if we're going to
In
move,
the
okay.
front.
no, I would still prefer not to give up the parking or the plaza. And have 4 handicap spots, the 2 behind which meet code, and then the 2 on Gower that are close to the entrance. But if we did move it, I would say the 1 spot rather than the alternate.
And you're not in favor of the site plan option 2? With retaining wall and parking in the,
Correct.
okay.
I'm saying that if we went with 2, it would not be the alternate. With the extra work of retaining wall and. My second preference on the exteriors is 2. And the big shed roof, but
That's your second choice.
I tend to go along with what Lisa was saying with her choices. The only thing that, again, I'm concerned about that split roof and leakage, but I like it because it's more coverage for weather, and we really need that here. But I definitely like the gable run on the Gower Street, and I do like the idea of the recessed being darker than the outward ones. So I'd go with option 1 with adding the,
Option one for Gower Street.
yeah,
And option 3 for the built for the, with that.
yeah,
And what do you feel about the,
but I would want the gables on the, yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what do you feel about the parking?
Same thing. I want like to have the space in the front.
One
space.
space in the front, one on Gower.
I prefer option 3, which is option 2, Gower Street. And
And wait, say everything. Option.
option 3, but with the Gower Street, with the less cables.
Isn't that an option 3 all the way?
Yes,
Yeah, you just like option 3, both
yes.
top and bottom picture. Right.
I guess because there's option 2, there's Gower Street thing.
Yeah, they're both.
And then to have the handicap parking out.
1 or 2.
Or one on the property.
So I want. Oh, no, I want one handicap in the front, one on Gower Street. Option 3 top and option 1 bottom, Gower.
All the women like the. Option 1 Gower.
True.
Isn't that
And
funny?
since I didn't hear Nancy or Barb, how do you feel about the recess portion being
Oh, yeah.
dark
Yeah.
like that?
But you know, those are the things that once we get the
Right.
built and
Yeah, that's
everybody
how we
says
stain
what a
it.
great job we've done, and then they start ripping it apart. That's an easy fix.
Yeah, but that's also the type of thing that gets done during design development.
Right, yeah, but once it's all finished, I'm sure there will be some suggestions. Just saying.
So does that give you information?
Does that confuse you enough?
All the women said the same thing.
Read it too.
Back a little bit on that, 3 of you prefer
The same thing.
Yeah,
same,
all the same thing.
And-
Yeah.
And you guys prefer something else?
it's not that different. We're not that far apart.
No, we aren't.
No.
No.
Maybe
No.
lose one of the
I'm
cable.
more than happy to be where we are.
Good.
Yeah, it doesn't make that much difference to me.
As long as,
It is a little busy for me.
as long as we don't have anything from number 2, I'm okay.
One of us gables is a better number than 4.
Just like it.
So for the next meeting. Careful with this. Won't show anything from option 2. Would show option 1 as presented, option 3 as presented, and then create another option, maybe call it 4, which would be the preferences that were expressed tonight.
Option 1 is only about the Gower Street
Right.
side,
Right.
the gables.
And all of us like the one, I believe.
Well, we were all on number 3.
No, I'm talking about the parking space, the ADA parking.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You didn't like giving up the parking, but you also saw the benefit of having the one in front.
I'm saying if we go that way, I
Yeah.
would prefer the one in front rather than the 2 in front. But
But did we all agree for number on option 3 at the, I'm
Yeah.
at the top?
We did.
Okay. See?
And
The reason is we want to have options because we're kind of making it, we're moving the milestone to the 6th. And so have options for people if they want to come and see and to choose from. Also to the combination that pretty much you all agreed on
Right.
and have those be what's shown. And then probably an abbreviated presentation on police so that we can have 2 votes on design development. See where we are.
Yeah.
Okay?
Would you like to do that on the 6th, Bruce?
Yes.
And we're gonna work hard at getting the packet out a week in advance with all of the.
That's quickly as we can get it from CETA is how quickly
Yeah.
we receive it.
That really helps.
Yeah.
So
Makes people,
you are saying that west side elevation, we're gonna do 2 of them?
1 and 3, whatever it is on 1 and 3.
How did
Well-
the west side elevation census on option 3 is what I heard.
you know, on the west,
On the,
As a number 1 choice, as our number 1 choice, I'm getting to what's our number 2 choice. if
Gower
so
Street.
Options.
and the Gower Street was 3 for the Gower Street on option 1. And 2 people like the Gower Street on options 2 and 3.
What I'm getting to is we're showing 2 options of the west side or the roof line. Do we want it to be option 1 or option 2?
Option 2 is out. No one wanted option 2.
Did you want something on option 2?
That would be my choice for a second. I think I said that, but
For a second.
Okay,
for a second west side view. But everybody else was second choice is option 1.
yeah,
My second choice would be option 1.
yeah, my.
Okay.
Barb said nothing from 2. So
But I still think I could adjust.
I think we shouldn't have 4 different options. I really
We're
think
gonna have
that's
2
crazy. Yeah,
Right?
Well, there'll be, I think that there will be a third, and that's the one with the combination that y'all said you like,
okay.
because that one right now.
Side option 1 and Gower Street option 3. I mean, Gower Street option 3 and West Side option. You know what I'm saying?
I'm.
So we are only going to one
This one,
option.
this is what it's going.
Is that,
I think,
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. That, I like the way you did that.
I have to.
just for clarity, what I'm trying to do is
Clarity.
keep some options out there for people to come to the next meeting.
You want to
And
confuse
so-
everybody more.
Yeah,
But
well,
two,
just in case somebody comes.
2 options. Or 3 options.
Well, the third option, let me see, 1 would be option number 1. The other would be option 3. And then there's the combination of all favor. But you can see how it looks with the balcony recesses and
Okay,
the roof line and things.
so what's the second option on the Gower Street?
It'd be whatever 1 is.
Okay, so
I think there
well,
is a second option.
we're going to leave option 3. Okay,
Yes. Then 1,
All of options.
yeah, which is interesting, but nobody said that option 1, the west facade was their favorite. No one.
I
Understood.
like it better myself.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I thought you said you liked,
I did, I like, I'll go with 3 because I like the entrance, but to be perfectly honest, I like option 1.
okay, so you want it in there.
So I'm
Okay,
kind of a toss up for me for the west side. But I like the Gower Street on option 1.
okay.
you want the public participation. So he's only got put on the website last night. So I want to say, somebody comes in, these are the ones that you were able to look at. The one that seemed to be combination.
But definitely more than 24 hours in advance. So people have a couple of days to look at it.
We will do the best. I think that it'll be possible. But it's just as quick as what Peter can get it done.
I know, but
If you want, we can say that we can move it to the meeting.
well, is it possible? You're the guys who do it.
So Jen had her hand up.
Jennifer did.
Yeah, Jennifer, do you want to say something?
well, I was hoping to talk about the site plan for just a little bit, but I'm not sure if this is appropriate time, but if it is, I mean, I just want to express some concern about reducing parking and I know that there's all of these really great reasons to do it. But I do think it's at an expense of, it's at an expense of both the additional parking and then enhanced plaza for the public to enjoy. So I think that the balance, I will respect whichever way you go, but I do think that adding one stall is at a pretty high expense to these other things. And I just want to make sure it gets weighed really carefully. And I started to want, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry. Thanks for speaking up.
Yeah, and the other thing I start to wonder is if there's any way to move the sidewalk in on Gower and put just a pull-in ADA spot. It's not, it's like what you would see in a public area. Maybe widen that area there and just put one. I really do worry about losing so much parking and for one stall, fully understanding that I take someone around that would need that stall. So I really appreciate that, but I just worry about the expense we're giving to that.
What would it take to make that street stall?
So what there is that we could look at having the sidewalk not go straight down Gower, but having the sidewalk enter our plaza to make space for a parallel accessible parking space.
Oh, I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yeah, it was just something that we've stewed on this so much in the office, and it was just as you guys were sitting there talking and we talked about the flip of Gower again, which I think is the expenses doesn't make sense, but it made me wonder if there's something we can do that is marrying these two worlds.
Could we see, it'd be great to see a drawing of that, how that would work.
Oh, yeah, I assume so.
Be just one stall.
Yes.
Right, I would think it'd be like when you park in other places in cities and they do have a marked ADA stall, we would be giving up some of our site to accomplish it rather than it being public.
I imagine it would be somewhere in this vicinity. If I'm understanding you correctly, Jennifer.
It's my wild idea as I sat here and stared at the plan, being just concerned about losing so much parking.
And so what that would mean is as you're walking down the sidewalk, you would be diverted around through the plaza.
If that's something that is at all palatable to council, we could look at that.
Street sidewalks are boring.
No obstacles.
One thing that, and if we need to discuss this further right now, it's fine. I just have something else about the back parking lot.
Jen, are you finished? Jennifer? You have more?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that was my 2 cents.
Hands down. Okay. Brandon.
I just wanted to make sure that there'd be enough visual screen from that bump out where the parking spaces, whichever option we choose, gets closest to the property line. That there's something to visually screen that part in the back.
In the back?
I'm not sure what you're talking about yet.
It's on the south part. It's where the police department garage is now.
Here,
There.
yes, this would still need to meet the requirements for screening between the government use property and the residential property adjacent, which has trees and plantings pretty close. It's good screening.
Something with some height to it. I know it's not appropriate to have a large canopy tree there, probably.
We assume that area would be screened,
Okay,
the landscape standards.
thank you.
Okay, Leslie, we're back to the question of the day is how quickly can you get these turned around?
I want to clarify that I understand the request. So what I understood the request to be, and then close one of these and make this bigger, is that option 1 remains as is as a reference point for the next meeting.
Mhm.
Option 3 remains as is as a reference point for next meeting, and we are producing one additional option based on feedback and what we heard this evening.
Right,
And what is option 3 consist of?
or option, new option, you mean.
So that would
Right, the new direction.
That would be 3.
be the option 3 canopy with the increased gables along Gower. And to,
Okay.
I may look at the back elevation. We didn't talk about that much, but given direction on what's happening on the front of the building, my preference will be to look at the back of the building and make sure that the language and the pieces are coming together in a similar way on the back of the building.
Okay.
So that,
And then you'll also look at a handicap spot.
yes, on the site, I'll present a new site option that hopefully does the good things of both of the two that we presented this evening.
And the meeting is on the 6th. Can you?
The meeting,
That you'd be a week ahead of the 6th.
yes,
Okay. I have it on. Date that is.
to do that, that means we would be presenting our drafts of this in a week. Week from tomorrow.
Does that give Jordan enough time now to do his portion? Because that's what I'd be worried about.
No.
Go ahead.
No,
I mean, we're still in decision mode. I think around the facades and the roof type and the gables, that's really not going to move the needle a ton. I think a decision on kind of what we're doing with the site is probably the biggest variable. So I can gladly, like I said, we're just taking snapshots in time right now. If you tell me which snapshot you want to look at right now, I can have no problem pulling the estimate together. If we're waiting for another decision cycle, then it's gonna push that out.
Can I make a proposal on that and you guys can yay or nay it? But Jordan could price the site plan as it currently sits with the 26 stalls, I think it was in the back, and we can do a schematic to show them where the ADA would be up front and do that as the baseline. And then if we come back with that price and that baseline and you don't like the way this looks, then we pivot on the next phase to put ADA through the front, like we were showing on that other plan.
I would propose doing an estimate on this site option and then facade option 1, which has the overframing.
And Leslie, your time frame. Today's the
Well, I
17th.
think on that, Jordan, I think we could put together the schematic that's the hybrid that they like, and then that's what you can price. We can turn, I think what we need to do is try to turn that around so you have that for your pricing. So that it's the option 4 at this point, and then this site. That's what I would propose if possible.
Okay. So then you also mentioned that you wanted that part of the packet a week ahead of 6.
As far ahead as we can get it.
Yeah, I think
It'd be the 30th to us.
Yeah, and originally we were talking the 2nd, because I won't have that updated option from CETA until the 19th, most likely. Or 20th.
If it got published on the,
I
if it got on the website on the 2nd, that's 4 days. That's better than we've had so far.
so. The 2nd's a Thursday and the meeting, but the other thing we could do is move the November 6th meeting, because that second week in November, all of those aren't on hold anymore, right? Or are they?
God only knows.
I don't know.
I still have 3 of them on hold.
Not next week in November.
No, that's next week. There's 2 weeks before the 30th. So that's the amount of time we're talking about. I don't know if you can get something to Jordan, but we're not a week away from these dates. You're 2 weeks away from needing to get something to us. Be like the 30th, 31st, we put it out.
It's less than 2 weeks. It's less than 2 weeks away, but then they also need time to produce the materials. And so I'm not going to speak for that time frame.
Yeah, we have 3 meetings that week too. We have the 6th, 7th, and 8th.
No, I was talking the next week.
Oh, next, The following week?
Yeah, the 13th week.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay,
Well, I can't meet at night on that week myself.
So if we were to be able to give you the updated drawings in the next 2 to 3 days, then it would be a week for pricing.
I would still, yes, I mean, for this estimate, I would still like to hold that second date. If you could get me something by the end of the week, call it Friday. And we could still hold to our either meeting on the 1st or 2nd. That date. But that's not a week ahead of time, but if 4 days ahead of time is acceptable, then
I thought the meeting was on November 6th.
It is.
Okay.
we're trying to hit the week ahead deadline.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thanks. Okay. So are you guys okay with those dates or is that too much question?
I think it's okay. My understanding is that the confirmation is whether it's acceptable to post information on the 2nd in advance of the 6th. That's only potentially one business day, and then there's a weekend in there.
Yeah.
But that's not the week in
Because
advance.
we want the public to be able to see it. So the fact.
Yeah, but it's still so much better than anything we've had.
There's going to be 2 components to that. I think the publishing of the renderings and the materials for the visual materials definitely can hit that 1 week window. It's Emmerich getting the estimate pulled together that won't be pulled together until the 1st or 2nd. So those would lag.
We could do partial.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that
was.
sounds fine to me.
Okay, all right. Very good.
Okay, is there anything else? Good of the order?
Oh, well. Maybe I should wait till, I want to discuss the charrette. That we talked about last night, but I don't know when we should do that or how we do it.
So we
Or-
don't have another meeting until.
First.
Well, we have the subcommittee. We haven't set a day for the subcommittee to meet, have we? Or
No, I'm talking about for the other project, the public hearings for the code audit.
yeah,
And that was brought up last night,
right.
doing this.
But we set up a subcommittee.
You're on it.
I'm on it.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything about that yet in terms of meeting or anything.
I'd like to hear what other people think about it, but maybe now it's not the time. I'm just saying that I think it's something we need to discuss whether we want to incur that expense or not. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Or we just need to find out how much it is.
Yeah, we don't even know.
yeah, so until we have more information on the cost.
Okay, all right.
Did you do some research on what they were?
No, I'm
Okay.
just going on the fact that I think it's going to be very expensive. But I have not basing that on any facts. I'm basing it on my feeling, and that's not a good,
About it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's wait till we have more information on it.
okay,
Is that okay?
yeah, then we need to.
Can get you some information.
On the cost.
Yeah, and have her describe, is it going to be a facilitator guiding us through the various options, or, is that what she's talking about? And if so, how much is that going to cost? Yeah.
Had any of you ever heard that word before?
No.
See, I had never, and
Charades.
at the tree committee meeting today, no one on that committee out of 6 people had ever heard of it.
It's a wonky word.
It is a wonky word.
Well, it's a good Scrabble word.
Yeah.
You have time to play Scrabble. Okay, I just want to remind everyone, we have a work party on this Saturday from 10 till noon. And we're going to meet at the 2nd Street public parking at the beginning of the Lagoon Trails. 2nd Street parking, 10 till noon. You haven't been there? could make an appearance. Any of you guys would like to join us? I wouldn't talk any charrettes. Anything else for good of the order? Okay, thank you guys